Hey y'all, and welcome back to Flick Connection. In this episode, I'm going to tell you about 10 near-perfect movies that are currently free to watch right here on YouTube. I've even put the links to these movies directly in the top pinned comments, so you can click and start watching them right away. Starting with my number 10 pick, which comes all the way from 1972, one of the early disaster movies, one I have loved since I was a kid, The Poseidon Adventure. Now, like I said, these movies are near perfect. I will say the Poseidon Adventure is a bit slow in the first 15-20 minutes. They spend a lot of time establishing all the characters, something you've got to do in just about every movie, but they do all of that before this cruise ship capsizes. They really could have introduced a lot of these characters after that event. It feels a bit dated in that respect, but really, once the adventure begins, it is a non-stop thrill ride with some amazing effects. They actually built all these sets upside down and they're ascending downward through a ship somehow. It's really amazing to watch. And Hollywood has made a bunch of movies like this since, including Daylight with Sylvester Stallone, very much a similar type of movie. And then obviously the Poseidon remake. None of them are as good as the original though. There's also a lot of spooky mystery movies that take place around in an asylum. I mean, hell, Paul Walker even did an asylum movie titled The Lazarus Project that's pretty decent, but none of them are as near perfect as Martin Scorsese's Shutter Island. Now, this is one of those movies that is just fantastic mystery on the first watch, but it gets so much better on the second and third viewing. Not only did Scorsese put in all sorts of clues as to what's going on that are absolutely delightful to find on that second and third viewing, once you know what's going on, but you're dealing with like top tier actors, and I'm not just talking about Leonardo DiCaprio. All of the supporting actors, even ones that have one little scene, it's a Martin Scorsese picture. They're all phenomenal actors, and they're doing amazing little subtleties in their performances that help reinforce what's actually happening in this movie. It's rare for a movie with as big of a twist and as big of a reveal as Shutter Island to be worth multiple viewings, and Shutter Island is just damn near a masterpiece in this. Now, those last two recommendations are confusing enough to keep you up at night, but today's sponsor, Dream by Beam, can definitely help you with that, and they're currently having their biggest sale ever with up to 50% off, which is actually a luxurious drink blend that is loaded with some of the best sleep-promoting ingredients. It's actually a powder that you mix with just a little bit of warm milk or water about 30 minutes to an hour before bed. I typically enjoy mine about halfway through my last movie of the day. And I enjoy Dream even though I don't have chronic sleep problems. In fact, I tend to fall asleep pretty quickly, but as I've gotten older, I found that I wake up in the middle of the night almost every night for various reasons, and oftentimes I would have a hard time getting back to sleep comfortably, but not on nights when I've had Dream before sleep. Those nights, I fall right back to sleep very comfortably, and most importantly, I wake up feeling refreshed, which is what you want with a sleep aid. You don't want something that's going to cause you to wake up groggy. It defeats the purpose of a good night's sleep. Dream is available in a CBD version and a non-CBD version. I have been enjoying the non-CBD version, but they have a variety of flavors as well. The original is kind of like a cocoa with a bit of cinnamon. It's actually really nice. There's a chocolate brownie, a chocolate mint, chocolate peanut butter, and it's gluten-free, dairy-free, no added sugar, no GMOs, no artificial flavors. And Beam is clinically proven to help you fall asleep faster, stay asleep, and wake up feeling refreshed. If that sounds interesting to you, click the link down in the video description or just use this QR code. And again, my viewers are going to get early access to their Black Friday deal where you're going to save up to 50% off. It's the biggest discount I've ever seen them give. To get it, use the link down in the description or go to this QR code. It's a great deal on a luxurious product that I actually really enjoy. But speaking of stuff I enjoy, let's get back to the movies on this list. In a similar vein to the Poseidon Adventure, we're going to go with another throwback flick that is an aquatic adventure of truly epic proportions with James Cameron's The Abyss. Now, I just recently rewatched it. I've watched this movie a bunch of times in my life, and it really is incredible. My children both saw it recently for the first time. They both loved it. My daughter actually said it was the best movie she'd ever seen. I mean, the movie's 35 years old. It looks absolutely amazing. It looks like it was filmed yesterday. Very few of the effects don't hold up. Most of them look impeccable today. And the story's really harrowing. Most of what you're seeing is real. It's on camera. You know, they're actually gallons and gallons of water filling up all these chambers, and it's just an incredible thing to behold. I mean, I will say, Titanic is also currently free to watch on YouTube. I'm not going to link to that. You can just search for it. But on that note, I will say, these movies will not be free on YouTube for very long, and they're not going to be free all over the world. So you may also want to check that top pinned comment for some additional streaming services that are also hosting these movies currently, but you're also going to want to click that subscribe button, maybe even the bell, if you'd like to be notified when I release these videos, you know, so you don't miss the movies before they're gone. But I put new episodes out like this every single week, sometimes twice a week, so stay tuned for up-to-date listings. But my next pick, I actually can't believe it's free to watch on YouTube, Christopher Nolan's Interstellar. I would put this on par with The Abyss, which is why it's ranked right next to it. Just an incredible sci-fi adventure with tons of twists and turns, but it's also just an emotional roller coaster, especially for anyone who has children. It is just a wild ride, almost to the point of exhaustion at times in this movie. There's so much happening. The Hans Zimmer score, I mean, it is just full tilt all the way through. I love this film. This is another one. It's a bit mature for my kids at their age, but they absolutely loved this one as well. It's just, it's one of a kind. My next one, though, is one that has grown on me. This is one that I was actually disappointed with when I originally saw it in the movie theaters, and that's David Fincher's Zodiac. Now, back then, I was in college. I really wanted kind of a sequel to Seven, and Zodiac is not that. This is a much more technical film. There's actually quite a bit of variety in the way that they shot this movie, but it's very, very precise in the details that it chooses to show you about these Zodiac killings, and it's very patient as well. So in terms of David Fincher, it's just incredibly well crafted, but you've also got some amazing characters in this, not just performances, really great characters. Robert Downey Jr., it's one of my favorite smaller characters he's done. You know, he's always got these big characters that kind of take up the whole movie. He's not in this that much, but he's a very important character, and he's got kind of a different flavor to him than he typically has. And the movie does end up kind of meandering and it fizzles out, but that's what happened with the Zodiac case. It just continued on and eventually kind of went nowhere until, you know, somewhat recently. But in the hands of David Fincher, I mean, this and Seven are two of the best movies about serial killers ever made. But then my next pick is easily the oldest movie on this list and still holds up. Literally, it's one of the greatest movies of all time, The Great Escape.
Hold on to yourself, Bartlett. You're 20 feet short. The hole is right here in the open. The guard is between us and the light.
The Great Escape. From a barbed wire camp to a barbed wire country.
This is another one I've watched with the family, and the kids love it. I mean, it's one of the older movies they've seen like this, and they really do enjoy it. There's so many fun moments in this that everybody can kind of wrap their head around, which is why I think it was not only a massive hit back when it released, but it's still so enjoyable to watch today. I mean, yes, it's a prison camp, there's Nazis, but there's nothing too brutal happening to anybody. It's really about the escape, and it's about the escape even more so than the Shawshank Redemption was about that escape. So all of that stuff is exciting, and then, you know, you cap it off with Steve McQueen on the motorcycle. It's just top-notch stuff. And then I've got a horror movie, possibly like one of my favorite horror movies of all time. It's sure enough damn near perfect. Poltergeist.
They're here.
Sweetheart, when you said they're here, who did you mean?
The TV people.
Do you see them?
Do you?
Now, I realize a lot of people think Steven Spielberg directed this movie, and fair enough, he produced it, and it does have the look and feel of a Steven Spielberg movie. But believe it or not, this is directed by Tobe Hooper, who's probably most famous for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Now, he's done some other movies I really like and recommend, like Life Force, but it's just amazing to me that he directed the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which is just like a rough, coarse horror movie. It's got a rough look to it. It's incredibly well crafted, don't get me wrong. Like, the way it's edited and the way it paces out, it's a masterpiece. But it is a dark, rough, gritty movie. And then Poltergeist is kind of the opposite. It's this real polished horror movie that is just dazzling to look at, but is also pretty horrifying. Two opposite ends of the spectrum. I think he nailed both of them. And Poltergeist was one of the first horror movies I ever saw, and to this day, it's still one of my all-time favorites in the genre. After this video, maybe visit DarrenVanDam.com. You can pick up one of these shirts or sign up for my free email newsletter. I send one email out every Friday with 5 movie recommendations. It's a real quick read, and it's movie recommendations I don't necessarily make here on the channel. And then my number 2 pick on this list is a drama. It's a dry drama about dry subject matter, and I think it is just an absolute masterpiece from director Michael Mann, The Insider.
So what you're saying is it isn't enough that you fired me for no good reason. Now you question my integrity? On top of the humiliation of being fired, you threaten me? You threaten my family?
This is based on the true story of Jeffrey Wigand, who was an insider whistleblower that alerted the public to the dangers of cigarettes. Now, obviously, at this time, people already knew that they were dangerous, but he shed some light on how dangerous the cigarette companies knew the cigarettes were and really how they were designed to keep you hooked. A delivery device for nicotine, as he put it. And the man literally stuck his neck out. And as I said, this is a nearly 3-hour movie. Every single scene is dialogue heavy, yet it is just electric. It moves. It's one of Russell Crowe's best performances. Like always with Michael Mann movies, it's got an incredible aesthetic and mood to it that comes from the look and the cinematography, but also his really unique soundtrack choices. I'm gonna say it again, I mean, for a 3-hour movie about a whistleblower in the cigarette industry, it's amazing how compelling The Insider is. And then I couldn't help myself. My number 1 pick is one of my favorite movies of all time, Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Now, I probably won't spend a ton of time talking about it, but just like James Cameron's The Abyss, this movie looks like it was filmed yesterday. It is absolutely breathtaking, and it is loaded with classic, real stunt work. Just something that is not alive and well in movies today. Yes, they do it sometimes, but not on the scale that you get with a movie like Terminator 2, and it is so exciting. I mean, the entire last 40 minutes of this movie are just absolutely bonkers. And if you take a look at when this came out, yeah, there were really good, wild action movies that came out before Terminator 2. I mean, hell, Terminator, Predator, a bunch of Schwarzenegger movies, but nothing quite like Terminator 2. And it's rare for us to get anything close to it nowadays, but when we do, I think we have Terminator 2 to thank for it. When we get movies like Fury Road, The Raid, The Matrix, these big, expensive, over-the-top, rated-R movies loaded with incredible visuals and special effects, I really think Terminator 2 paved the way for that, and still, such an exciting movie to watch, and even in a franchise that's just overloaded, bloated with movies, big budget movies, this one, Terminator 2, still holds up as the cream of the crop. But that is the list. Again, don't forget to check that top pinned comment. You can get the links for these movies. They will not be available forever, though. Also, check out that Beam link down in the description if you'd like to try Dream Before Sleep. But I will keep making these videos as long as y'all keep watching them. Thanks for checking out this special YouTube episode, and you will see me on the next one.